Shame doesn't just make you feel bad about what you did. It convinces you the story is already over. That's the difference between guilt and shame. And it's worth naming clearly before we go any further. Guilt says, I did something wrong. Shame says, I am something wrong. And once shame gets that sentence installed in your head, it stops being about the moment you failed and starts being about your entire identity going forward. Shame doesn't ask you to make it right. It asks you to disappear. This is the season finale of the Coping series, and it's the one all the others have been building toward. We've watched people run, collapse, isolate, rage, lament, and get talked into false explanations for their pain. This episode is about the coping mechanism that shows up after all of those what happens after you fail badly in a way you can't undo, and shame tries to convince you that failure gets the last word. There's a man in the Gospels who makes the boldest promise of loyalty anyone ever makes to Jesus and then breaks it completely 3 times in a single night. This is Peter, and his story isn't really about the denial. It's about what happens on the other side of it, the exact place shame insists you can't come back from. If you followed this series from the beginning, you already know the shape of what usually comes next in these stories. A failure, a low point, and then God meeting the person there in a way that doesn't match what they expected. Peter's story is the clearest version of that pattern in the entire Bible, precisely because his failure is so public, so complete, and so hard to explain away. There's no ambiguity to soften it. He said he never would, then he did 3 times to people who barely mattered. And that's exactly the story worth ending this season on. The boldest promise. At the Last Supper, Jesus tells the disciples one of them will betray him, and later warns Peter specifically that Satan has asked to sift him like wheat. Peter's response is immediate and absolute. Lord, I am ready to go with you both, to prison and to death. That's not a small promise. That's the loudest, most confident declaration of loyalty in the entire gospel account. Peter isn't lying when he says it. He believes it completely, the same way most of us believe our own resolve right up, until the moment it's actually tested. Jesus' response isn't an argument. It's a prediction. The rooster will not crow this day until you deny 3 times that you know me. The prediction nobody wants to hear. Peter doesn't just deny the prediction. He insists harder. All 4 Gospels record some version of his refusal to accept that he could ever do what Jesus said he would do. The gap between how sure we are of our own strength and how quickly that strength actually breaks is usually invisible to us until the exact moment it's tested. This isn't a story about a uniquely weak man. It's a story about the universal experience of discovering in crisis that the version of yourself you were so confident about isn't the version that shows up when the pressure is real. Peter's failure that night isn't a character flaw unique to him. It's what happens to conviction that hasn't yet been tested by real fear. 3 times getting worse, Jesus is arrested, and Peter follows at a distance into the courtyard of the high priest. A servant girl says she recognizes him as one of Jesus' followers. Peter denies it. A little later, someone else makes the same accusation. He denies it again. Then, about an hour later, a 3rd person insists Peter must be one of them. And this time Peter denies it with cursing and swearing, saying he doesn't even know the man. Notice the escalation. Each denial is more forceful than the last, because each one requires burying the previous one deeper. That's how shame spirals usually work in real time. Before the shame even fully lands, the first small compromise makes the next one easier, and each one requires more force to maintain than the one before it. There's something almost mechanical about how this works, in Peter's story and in ours. The first denial is a simple, I don't know what you're talking about. By the 3rd, he's swearing oaths to convince strangers he's telling the truth. Lies rarely stay the same size. Left unaddressed, they tend to recruit more of you into defending them each time until the version of yourself doing the defending barely resembles the one who told the first small lie. The look. And immediately, while he was still speaking, the rooster crowed. And the Lord turned and looked directly at Peter. Say it in that detail for a moment, because it's the hinge of the entire story. Jesus doesn't send someone to confront Peter later. He doesn't wait for a private moment to address it quietly. In the exact instant of Peter's worst failure, at his lowest possible moment, Jesus looks straight at him, not with fury. The text doesn't describe anger in that look, only that Peter, meeting it, remembered the word Jesus had spoken and went out and wept bitterly. That look could have been the end of Peter's story. For a while it functions like it is, the shame spiral. Peter disappears from the narrative for a stretch after that, and by the time we catch up with him again in John's Gospel after the resurrection, he's gone back to fishing, the exact life he left behind to follow Jesus in the first place. "I am going fishing," he tells the others, and they go with him. They fish all night and catch nothing. This is what shame spirals actually look like in practice. Not dramatic self-destruction usually, a quiet retreat back to the smaller life you had before you dared to believe you were called to something bigger. Peter doesn't announce he's giving up on his calling. He just quietly picks the boat back up because it's easier to return to what you know how to do than to face what you're not sure you're allowed to be anymore. Notice too that they fish all night and catch nothing. Even the old, familiar life doesn't work the way it used to. Once you've been called into something more, that emptiness isn't incidental to the story. It's part of what makes Peter ready for the shore even if he doesn't know it yet. Breakfast on the shore. A figure appears on the shore at daybreak, though the disciples don't recognize him yet. He tells them where to cast the net, and it comes up so full they can't haul it in. That's when John realizes it is the Lord. Peter, in classic Peter fashion, throws himself into the water and swims to shore before the boat even gets there. And when they arrive, Jesus doesn't lead with the conversation. Peter has probably been dreading since the rooster crowed. There's a charcoal fire already burning with fish and bread on it. The first thing the risen Jesus does for the man who denied him 3 times is make him breakfast. Not a rebuke, not even yet a conversation about the denial. A meal prepared before Peter even reached the shore. 3 questions for 3 denials. After they eat, Jesus asks Peter a question. "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" Peter answers, "Yes." Jesus tells him to feed his lambs. Then Jesus asks again the same question. Peter answers again. Jesus tells him to tend his sheep. Then a 3rd time, and this time Peter is grieved, because Jesus asked a 3rd time the same number as the denials. He answers a 3rd time and Jesus says once more, "Feed my sheep." Restoration here doesn't skip the failure. It matches it 1 for 1. 3 denials, 3 questions, 3 commissions. Jesus doesn't pretend the denial didn't happen or rush past it for the sake of comfort. He walks Peter through it as many times as Peter needed to walk away from it. Precise, patient, and aimed at rebuilding exactly what had broken, piece by piece. That precision matters. It would have been easier, in a sense, for Jesus to simply forgive Peter once. In general terms, it goes and move on. Instead, he revisits the wound exactly as many times as it was inflicted, giving Peter the chance to answer for it as many times as he denied it. There's something almost surgical about that kind of restoration, not vague reassurance, but a repair that matches the shape of the actual break. Feed my sheep. Notice what Jesus doesn't do in this entire conversation. He never tells Peter he's disqualified. He never suggests someone else should lead in his place because of what happened in that courtyard. Each answer to "Do you love me?" comes back with the same instruction: feed my sheep. The failure doesn't end Peter's calling. The restoration reissues it. This is the answer this whole series has been building toward, episode after episode. Whatever coping mechanism you recognized in yourself along the way, the running, the exhaustion, the isolation, the anger, the honest lament, the false comfort you had to reject, none of it disqualifies you from what you're called to. Shame tells you the story is over. Restoration tells you it's still being written, and you're still in it. It's worth remembering that this is the same Peter who, weeks later, stands up in front of a crowd of thousands in Jerusalem and preaches the sermon that becomes the founding moment of the church. The courtyard where he denied Jesus 3 times, and the platform where he proclaimed him publicly to thousands are separated by nothing but this breakfast on the shore. That's not a small detail to end a season on. It's the whole point. If shame has convinced you that something you did, or failed to do, moved you permanently out of the story God has for you, Peter's story says otherwise. The same man who denied Jesus 3 times in a courtyard preached the sermon that started the church weeks later. Restoration was never about pretending the failure didn't happen. It was about what Jesus was still willing to build with him afterward. This is the finale of the Coping series. If any of these 7 episodes named something you've been carrying, the getaway car, the tree, the wilderness, the mask, the lament, the bad comfort, or the shame spiral, and go back and watch the one that found you. And if this episode is the one that landed today, drop the word restored in the comments. Jesus didn't wait for Peter to fix himself before showing up on that shore. He came with breakfast already cooking. Whatever coping mechanism brought you to this episode, that's still how he meets you, not with a verdict, but with a fire already lit and a place already set. Never forget, you're stronger than you think,